Okay, here we go. Here's the Ashton Kutcher deep dive. All of the accusations that have come out about him since he and Mila Kunis have sent in letters of support for their best friend, Danny Masterson. Hello and welcome to No Culty Vibes. I'm your host, Cassie Marie, and today we're going to be talking about the fallout that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have received ever since they were exposed for writing letters of support for Danny Masterson after he was found guilty of 2 counts of forcible R word and ahead of his sentencing, where the judge was declaring whether he was going to get 15 years to life or 30 years to life in prison. Really quickly, before we get started, if you don't know me, I'm Cassie Marie, an ex-cult hopper, an artist and content creator. I make a lot of content with these deep dives and about pop culture and cults and the connections between that and celebrities and different gurus and grifters. So if you're interested in more culty content, please like this video, subscribe on YouTube or on podcasts. Find me on the social media. I'm on TikTok and Instagram at the.cassiemarie, on YouTube at No Culty Vibes, and I have the No Culty Vibes podcast that you can find wherever you get your podcasts. The fallout from Ashton and Mila writing these support letters for Danny has been almost immediate. The news caught on like wildfire and went viral. I've seen this picked up not well past the circles of cults and culty content. All the pop culture girlies are talking about it. I've even seen articles from CNN and some major news sources talking about this topic. It went so viral that Ashton and Mila had to make an apology video, although I'm not sure if apology was the intent behind that because it was not very well done and it just made things worse for them. And one of Danny's victims, Jane Doe 3, began accusing Ashton Kutcher of maybe having some things to hide. And a ton of people started looking into Thorn, his nonprofit that is supposed to combat child sex trafficking. So I'm going to take you back to the beginning. When did Ashton Kutcher become friends with Danny Masterson? Where does Mila play in all of this? Where are her, like, what accusations are coming out about her? We're going to look at some specific events, some interviews. We're going to look at Thorn. We're going to cover all of the things, so stick around. Can't wait to talk to you about that. I have another video where I read through both Ashton and Mila's letters in full and kind of give a reaction to them and talk a little bit about the things that they might be talking about. So if you are interested in that, you can go find my other Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, and Danny Masterson videos. So, according to Ashton Kutcher's own letter to the judge, he and Danny Masterson and Mila Kunis met on the set of That 70s Show in 1998 when they all got together to film the pilot episode. In both Ashton and Mila's letters, they talked about how Danny Masterson was so against drug use and they really credited him for keeping them out of typical Hollywood culture and kept keeping them drug free and going down the right path. It has been said, allegedly, from people involved at the time, people who were there, and some ex Scientologists that knew the cast very well, that Danny did sit the cast down really early on and give them a talk, basically saying, hey, don't mess this up for any of us. This show could go really well. Danny had been in the industry for a long time. He was slightly older than everyone there, and he was saying, don't mess this up. If any of us get in big trouble, like, this show can definitely end for us, and we want this to be a success. And it was more from ex Scientologists that have told me about this. It was more a self preservation thing, basically saying, don't mess this up for me. Because we know that Danny was doing some things behind the scenes that definitely could have messed this up if law enforcement had listened to the Jane Does earlier when this first occurred. Danny and Ashton in particular seemed to bond really well and stick together really early on. They were seen partying together very frequently as early as 2001, 2002. And in Christmas of 2003 and 2004, the entire main cast of that 70s show, would go perform at the Scientology Celebrity Center together for different Christmas performances. I have this picture here where you can see the cast at Celebrity Center. So there was some involvement with Scientology early on, and it's thought that this is where Ashton Kutcher met a lot of his Scientology friends. He ran with a lot of groups back in that day that were mainly Scientologists. Ashton Kutcher was always very, very close to Scientology, and I've seen people asking, are he and Mila maybe secret Scientologists, or did Scientology have anything to do with this? And nobody seems to know how involved or not involved Ashton and or Mila really were with Scientology. A couple people claim that Ashton, when he was dating a girlfriend back in the early 2000s, maybe took a couple different marriage counseling courses with Scientology, even though he wasn't married. You didn't have to be married. It was more of a relationship course. And some people said that he might have taken some other courses here and there, but for whatever reason, never became a full-blown member, never decided to go up the bridge. And outside of these events at Celebrity Center, has definitely never done anything publicly. So if Ashton and Mila are involved with Scientology, this would be extremely under wraps. Ashton continued to be friends with Danny and many other Scientologists, even after Scientology and the Aftermath came out, and it was a little bit more frowned upon publicly to be friends with those circles of people. He also was friends with Danny Masterson after the allegations came out, after he was fired from the ranch. He never put a pause or tried to distance himself from that friendship. They always have been really, really close. I found this picture on the internet of Ashton at a Scientology wedding with Danny Masterson. This was in 2019. And again, this is a wedding of Scientologists. Everyone in this picture is a Scientologist. And the wedding was officiated by Patrick Renna, who is also a second generation Scientologist. So whether he's actually involved in the cult or not, he's friends with enough people that he would have likely had interactions with it that could potentially explain some of these things. But we haven't heard anyone come out and say that they have proof or information of that for sure or not. So it's just speculation at this point. But it's real close, in my opinion, to think that Scientology has never either helped Ashton Kutcher or learned some things about him that may make him feel like he has to do most, if not all, of the things that is asked of him, whether by Scientology or Danny or Danny's family. So after people realized that Ashton and Mila were so close to Danny that they were willing to write a letter in support of him to get a lesser sentence, the internet got to work and started digging up basically anything shitty Ashton Kutcher has ever said or done. There were some early interviews that he did with Mila that were considered very problematic, considering that she was a minor at the time. She was 14 and 15 when a lot of these occurred. And he also talked about a couple of other famous girls in interviews or on Punk'd, where he described not being able to wait for them to turn 18. Chrissy Bixler, one of Danny Masterson's victims, like I said, Jane Doe 3, shared several of these videos on her Instagram story. So I'm going to show you what she dug up.
She's going to be in a movie called Cheaper by the Dozen, and she's one of the girls that we're all waiting for to turn 18, along with the Olsen twins. Any 15-year-old
getting the job, and I didn't know. Yeah, she was as hot as she was, 14, she was even hotter. But I'm not allowed to say that. 14 when we started the show. I was like 19, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, you guys are going to be making out in this scene. And I'm like thinking, like, this is like slightly illegal,
I was going to say, that's
right?
probably your first kiss ever, right?
It was my first kiss.
What if someone bet you made with Danny about our first kiss?
No, it wasn't the first kiss. It was like a second or third kiss.
It was like the first week.
No, it was not the first week.
Whatever. Let me tell you what happened.
No, let me tell you about that.
No. Okay, so I've never kissed a guy. I was so. I mean, Ash was attractive, and I was a 14-year-old little girl, and I was extremely scared for my life.
Sure.
And he was very nice about it. He was like, "Oh, don't worry." So I was like, "Okay." Then Danny goes in with, "Dude, I'll give you $10 if you French kiss her." What would he stick your tongue in my mouth or some?
What? No.
For $10.
You're making it sound like it was like really. Okay, Dan, we had a little side bet, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, which was
It wasn't very
as to whether or not, you're kissing on the show or boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
You would use tongue, right, Rosie?
Right.
I mean, you would use.
Danny show, and you're watching Immigrant.
Hi, I'm Ashton Kutcher, and I'm from That 70 Show TV, That 70 Show too.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing this is not because I think Immigrant is good, but because Josh told me Mila would sit on my lap and like, it feels good.
The internet was also really quick to point out that Ashton Kutcher had cheated on Demi Moore. That was the big reason that they got divorced. And in a book that Demi Moore wrote, she said that Ashton Kutcher was very unkind to her, and she did not have the best things to say about him. Along with those videos on her Instagram stories, Chrissy Bixler also posted a couple of messages to Ashton Kutcher. I had to put my glasses on because I want to read these to you. Dear Ashton, I know the secrets your role model keeps for you. Ashton called Danny his role model in his letters. Ones that would end you. Did you forget I was there? You were on speakerphone that night you called Danny on February 21st, 2001. I heard everything. I heard the plan. In my opinion, you're just as sick as your mentor. I'll get to February 21st, 2001 in a second, but I want to read to you the rest of what she said. Dear Mila, I pray you begin to process what you experienced as a child on that set. Your old interviews are very telling. I encourage everyone to watch them and decide for yourself what you hear and see. Do so before they get scrubbed from the internet. I also know what happened in Toronto and after. Question, if that's what you view as a normal relationship with a, quote, big brother figure, then I feel very sad for you, and I hope you consider getting into therapy. You all must forget I was there the whole time those first 5 years of That 70s Show. I remember everything. Chrissy also reposted a post from Yashar Ali, who does a lot of reporting on Scientology. Yashar says Ashton and Danny always treated Topher badly. So he's referring to Topher Grace on That 70s Show. If you'll notice from the pictures before, Topher Grace isn't in any of the appearances at Celebrity Center or with Scientology, and he often did not hang out with the rest of the cast. Yashar says, Topher has never liked Danny. I learned this while doing my early reporting on the then allegations, now conviction against Danny. Chrissy also says, Topher was bullied by Danny Masterson and isolated by most of the cast because Danny is like a cult leader. Danny hated Topher because Topher didn't bow to Danny like his other young castmates. I loved Topher. If I so much as said hi to Topher, I would be given a scolding and then ignored by Danny. It broke my heart. He was the only guy on that set with integrity and a moral compass. That's my experience. I was there. She also said, I don't know what angers me more, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis writing letters on behalf of their convicted serial R-word friend in an effort to get him a lesser sentence, where I know he would reoffend should that have happened, or how they're historically bad actors. In my opinion, Ashton Kutcher should be nowhere near victims. He's a fraud. #donkey punch bunch. There's a lot in there. If you haven't seen Mila and Ashton's apology video, I recommend that you do because it was a lot of very bad acting. She also said, y'all want to ask Ashton Kutcher if he remembers that orchestrated meeting between himself, January Jones, Laura Prepon, and me that took place in my, Danny Masterson's, living room in 1998. I know the secrets your role model keeps. #hidden cameras ? Now, this last thing that she posted, I don't know what she's talking about, but I have a feeling that either more will come out or she'll share more. I'm wondering if someone else has to come forward in order for us to know more about this. But she's throwing out a lot of pretty serious things that she could maybe be talking about. So, in that first post that I read, when Chrissy Bixler says, I was on speakerphone when you called Danny that night on February 21st, 2001, she's referring to the night that Ashton Kutcher went to go pick up his then casual girlfriend that he was taking out on a date to take her out on a date and go to a party. Her name was Ashley Ellerin. And that night that Ashton Kutcher went to pick her up, she had been brutally murdered by a man named Michael Gargiulo. He was later referred to as the Hollywood Ripper because he was a serial killer and Ashley was not his first or only victim. Ashton Kutcher told police that when he showed up, he rang the doorbell and Ashley didn't come to the door, which he thought was not normal, but he wondered if she had just gotten nervous or was already at the party or maybe decided to do something else. He said he was able to look through the window and saw red wine, what he thought was red wine, spilt on the floor, and just thought that she I guess had gone somewhere with someone else or had been partying earlier and wasn't answering the door. So he decided to go to the party without her. And then later, when her body was discovered and police were starting to ask questions, Ashton Kutcher allegedly reached out to police, freaking out because he was saying, oh, my fingerprints are going to be on the door because I went and I rang the doorbell and I saw wine, but I had no idea what happened. So Chrissy is alleging that Ashton Kutcher lied to police about that. Aaron Smith Levin, who has the YouTube channel called Growing Up in Scientology, has done an in-depth video on this, and some other people have reported on Ashton's original story as well. But they're alleging that Ashton Kutcher did not just ring the doorbell, see what he thought was red wine, and go to the party. They alleged that he actually went into the house when she didn't come to the door to see what was going on and saw her body there and her blood everywhere and freaked out. And instead of instantly calling the police, he went to his car and called his team. His team suggested that he shouldn't have anything to do with it, that it would be really bad PR. And allegedly, he called Danny Masterson, who gave him similar advice. They all told him to just go to the party, show up without her, say that you saw red wine and she didn't come to the door, and leave it at that. But the police, this isn't just an accusation from Chrissy Bixler. The police also said that his story didn't line up and he couldn't have seen her blood, what he thought was red wine, from the front door or from where he said he was. He would have had to have gone in the house to see that. And as a result of him not calling the police right away and lying to police, they were unable to prosecute the Hollywood Ripper for her murder because he had put too much reasonable doubt into the case. He was never a suspect. I've seen a lot of people talking about how she's alleging that he killed her or had something to do with it, and that's really dangerous for her to do. That's not really what she was alleging. She was just alleging that instead of calling the police and doing the right thing and giving them the information that they needed, he chose his career over catching this girl's killer. And because of that, the police could not prosecute because there was too much reasonable doubt sewn in. Later, though, after the Hollywood Ripper killed again, they were able to collect enough evidence from he killed once after that, and then he attempted to kill someone else again, and she got away. And they were able to collect enough evidence to prosecute him. And Ashton Kutcher did testify at that trial, and I guess it was a little safer to do so because he was removed enough from it that they could sow reasonable doubt for Ashley Ellerin's murder, but not for these other women because Ashton Kutcher wasn't there. etc. His testimony for that is not available anywhere. We can't hear exactly what he said, but we know that he did testify to his lie that he had just gone to the door, saw red wine, etc. When you think about the allegations in that story, what Chrissy and Aaron and others have shared, and you think about what Chrissy said about a cult leader on the set of that 70s show with that group of people, and if you know how cult leaders operate, and cults are kind of like a pyramid structure, and you have the leader at the top, and then you have their inner circle, and often they abuse their inner circle the most, but they also sometimes have the most dirt on the people in their inner circle, and those people become the cult leaders' flying monkeys that do their bidding for them a lot of the times and end up becoming perpetrators as well and predators as well. And if you think about the cast like that, and you think about how close Ashton and Danny are, and then Chrissy alleging that there are secrets that Danny keeps for him, you could see how Ashton could become a person who maybe there are predatory things that he's done. We don't know that for sure. But what we do know for sure is he is not the guy that he says he is. And he is not the person that he has branded himself to be as someone who cares about victims, advocates for victims, has testified in front of Congress about sex trafficking, and who has founded the foundation Thorn to help combat child sex trafficking. But then if you look into Thorn as well, there have been a lot of allegations there, and the internet has done its digging and found just some inconsistencies and weird things that have to do with Thorn. One of the first really sketchy things people started talking about in regards to Thorn is that one of its board members, a man named Joe Lonsdale, had been accused of R word by his mentees. Joe Lonsdale is a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and investor, and allegedly he sought this person out through Stanford's entrepreneurship mentorship program, and she was his mentee for a time, and she filed a lawsuit alleging some severe SA that he committed against her in some really horrible graphic ways, some of which he even admitted to. Eventually, the lawsuit was thrown out, but her allegations were detailed and specific and had basis, and there were no criminal charges filed. But in the case of a civil suit, I'm assuming she likely took a settlement. Who knows what went on with that behind the scenes? These things are really hard to prosecute and convict, but she did seem very credible. So it's very odd to have a literal predator on a board that's supposedly helping to combat child sex trafficking. In the past, Ashton Kutcher has been accused of using fake numbers to inflate the issues surrounding child sex trafficking and to promote Thorn and raise awareness. The numbers came from a bogus study 12 years prior to when Ashton Kutcher was going around and citing these numbers in different media appearances. And this is problematic because if you want to raise awareness around a subject, you want to be accurate about it. You want to cite real, actual cases and talk about real things so that, one, people don't question your credibility, and two, you want real facts and figures so that people can help in real ways. Allegedly, there was a number going around for a long time suggesting that between 100,000 and 300,000 children in America were being sold into sex slavery and were being passed around in the sex trade. And there was just no actual factual data to support that. Like I said, this was pulled from a study that was done 12 years earlier, and it was just based on how many children fit the profile of someone who would be trafficked, not children that are actually being trafficked. when people started questioning Ashton Kutcher about this and just basically saying, hey, don't promote false information when it comes to a foundation that you run. Be accurate and cite real problems and use real things. Ashton Kutcher, instead of listening and educating himself, he took to Twitter and started telling people to boycott some of the journalists that were just asking questions and reporting that he was using false numbers. That sounds really culty to me. That sounds like someone who's learned a thing or two about how to manipulate people and how to look like a giant grifter. Ashton Kutcher also came under fire a few years ago because he was spotted leaving what was described as a seedy massage parlor where it was known that women would do extra things for extra money. And it wasn't a typical massage parlor that people just went to get massages. There were pictures of Ashton Kutcher leaving, and people thought that that was just not a good look as someone who runs an organization that's against child sex trafficking. All of the reports on that were very carefully worded, which I found really interesting. I don't know if they were asked to word things in a very specific way. There were no allegations that there was nothing to suggest that he had done anything wrong. It was just a weird place for him to be photographed in light of that, and also being a married man. I also came across these 2 TikToks that I want you guys to watch that go into more detail about just some of the weird things about Thorn.
So I did the deep dive into Thorn so that you guys don't have to. I recommend that you listen to this whole 30-minute interview, but I'm just going to show you the clips that you have to see about this. While you watch, I want you to remember this weird picture of him drinking from a CIA mug with the hashtag thank you, hashtag gratitude. Roll the clip.
Okay, so the most recent article is about an NGO called Thorn that you might have heard of because of its celebrity founder, Ashton Kutcher. And basically what they say they do is, they're all about helping police stop child trafficking. But really so Thorn is partnered with all these Silicon Valley companies. If you go to Thorn's website, it's full of all these nice pictures of kids playing and happy, and talks about how they save all these kids. But basically, I would say it's sort of like a way for Silicon Valley companies to give these experimental softwares that they can't legally sell or publicly sell to police departments under the guise of, they're gonna save kids, but no one knows how they're really using this stuff. And it's very likely that Amazon and a lot of these other companies that are making this, because they give it away for free, have some sort of backdoor into the data. If you're actually a celebrity like Ashton Kutcher, okay, and you want to create an organization to save kids, why are you going to team up with 2 companies to create your tool to save kids that are major CIA contractors or funded by the CIA, when the CIA has a documented history of involvement in sex trafficking for blackmail, among other things, right? And so the CIA has been tied to all that stuff, right? So you're going to be like, yeah, I want to protect kids, so let's the CIA can do it. It doesn't really click,
Well, at the very least, Ashton Kutcher is either just a dumb, naive celebrity.
He's not, though.
Right.
He's not.
Okay, I have to be honest with you guys. I know a decent amount about nonprofits. I cannot fully figure out what Thorn, the nonprofit that Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore founded, really does. I am not accusing it of not being legitimate or anything like that, but I am confused as to what they do. But I do understand that one of the things that they do is they have sort of arms within the nonprofit that try to promote different ways of staying safe online, which I totally get and respect. So prefacing this with that. And one of those things is creating dialogue around being pressured to, participate in things sending photos or something. But I saw what I think is a very strange post on there, and I'm going to show it to you guys. And this is called No Filter, and it has a social media account, and it's powered by Thorn. And it has posts on it is victim blaming toxic behavior? Did Ashton and Mila victim blame? I would say no. The letters, though, are in my opinion, victim invalidating, which feels pretty adjacent to victim blaming. But I want to show you this post on there from a while back that I just think is very strange. CEO of protecting the peach emoji. Does something about this feel weird? Because it does to me.
When you put all of this together between not really knowing exactly what they do and Ashton Kutcher's connections and like seemingly obsession with the CIA, you just have to start to wonder. I also found this other TikTok that talked about his weird obsession with the CIA.
I haven't seen a lot of people talking about his strange support for the CIA. The first sign was this tweet from 2009, spent the afternoon picking the brain of a former CIA guy. It really makes you wonder if anything you come in contact with is not manipulated, giving off the energy of like, wake up, sheeple. But anyway, moving on. Then we have this tweet from 2018, just sending out a morning shout out to the men and women of the intelligence community that keep us safe and protect our country. Hashtag gratitude, hashtag thank you. Along with a little bedhead photo of him and his CIA merch. Being a CIA stan is like being a Blue Lives Matter fan on steroids. It's like, forget run-of-the-mill police brutality. What about staging coups d'etats and implementing puppet governments around the world? And here's a clip of him on the American Optimist podcast speculating as to whether TikTok is just a Chinese psyop to promote anti-American propaganda.
And I think about if I'm China and I want to create a problem in that area of the world, specifically a naval problem in that area of the world, in the South China Sea, I would probably want to utilize TikTok in order to influence the minds of Americans in a anti-U.S. propaganda, anti-Taiwanese propaganda effort in order to make any kind of war from the United States extraordinarily unpopular in order to defend the South China Sea.
It just all seems so sketchy. And remember, these are all allegations. We don't know if there is anything nefarious going on. No, there are no whistleblowers, no one coming forward saying that something is weird. But if I'm going to put my conspiracy theory cap on, I do have opinions of why someone like Ashton Kutcher would start an organization like Thorn, even though he has some shady things in his past that he might want to cover up. I personally think that some shady celebrities that are willing to do things or maybe bend the law a little bit start nonprofits for their tax exempt status and to be able to move money around if they have to. I just think some of these have a little bit of laundering money going on. In case you don't know, there is another Scientology celebrity, Marisol Nichols, also has an organization called Slavery Free World that is supposed to combat child sex trafficking. Allegedly, Marisol goes on operations with the FBI and the CIA and will pose as someone wanting to either buy children, or she will act in various roles to allegedly help law enforcement save children. I personally think that because churches like Scientology and celebrities who are maybe atheists that don't have a religious affiliation, they can't choose an altruistic like church to be a part of or to start or to fund or sit on the board of. So I think they start nonprofits and something so emotionally charged that nobody is going to question whether or not they're doing what they say they're doing with these organizations. I think about people like the Kardashians. Kris Jenner owns her own church. For what reason? She doesn't go to it. She owns it. She picked a disgraced pastor up off the street and put him in this church. And she's said many times that they tithe to this church. And it just seems fishy. It seems like a way to move money around. We can also look at someone like Lou Taylor, who was the talent manager or the management company behind Britney Spears' conservatorship. She sits on the boards of several ministries, including the board of a church called Church Home, which is run by Judah Smith. And Church Home is a major celebrity church. Justin and Hailey Bieber go there. Lana Del Rey has been seen there. Lana Del Rey had Judah Smith on her most recent album. It's just there's a lot of money flowing through these places, a lot of tithes. It's all tax exempt, and it just makes you wonder. And then you think about Hillsong and that a whistleblower came forward in Australia accusing Hillsong of fraud and laundering money. So when I look at all of that together, I'm like, I wonder if some of these celebrities just don't have a church or a religious like affiliation to get behind that they could start themselves. So they're picking a hot emotional topic that, like I said earlier, no one's going to question. People are obviously going to support. It really boosts their image. There could be a lot of beneficial aspects to this, none of which may be actually saving children, which is disgusting and horrific and very cult-like. Those are some of the more salacious accusations, some of the more sketchy things that people think Ashton Kutcher is involved in. But I'm glad that I couldn't make this video right away and had to wait, because yesterday it came out that an NFT animated production called Stoner Cats was fined by the SEC for misleading investors and committing fraud. And would you guess who is involved with this NFT? None other than Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. Ashton and Mila lent their voices to this animated feature, and allegedly this was created by a production company that lists Mila Kunis as a producer. I had to put my glasses back on to read this to you. This article, this Deadline article, says Stoner Cats, which was funded through the sale of $8 million in non-fungible tokens, NFTs, to investors in 2021, was part of a scheme to misappropriate those funds, according to charges brought by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC said it charged production entity Stoner Cats 2 LLC with conducting an unregistered offering of crypto asset securities. Mila Kunis is listed on the production's website as a member of the production team and blockchain team. This sounds like it could be an oversight from lawyers, a misappropriation of funds, or filing things correctly or incorrectly. But being hit with an SEC lawsuit and fined over $1 million, one of your productions going through that while you're going through such a scandal, cannot feel good. Ashton and Mila can't get a break. And honestly, with all of the stuff that comes out, I think rightfully so. I think it's important that we're able to look at celebrities that we think are amazing, wonderful people that can't be touched because, I don't know, they maybe run a nonprofit that helps children out of sex slavery, might not be who they say they are. They might not have the squeaky clean image that they say. And we should believe people when they tell the truth about these celebrities. We should also believe the celebrities when they show their true colors and a pattern of behavior over time. Being willing to change your mind when you get new information means you're not in a cult. And celebrity fandoms can often look like cults when we're unwilling to look at the celebrities and question the things that they might be involved in or the things that they might have done because, oh, they couldn't possibly because I love them so much because they've done this good thing. Many things can be true at the same time. And I don't like the idea of celebrities trying to use something like a nonprofit to bolster their image to a position where they can never be questioned. So I'm interested to see if anything else is going to come out about Ashton Kutcher in the future. We're all waiting to see if anything happens between Ashton and Mila with all of this. I think they're going to hunker down and ride this out, but the internet does not forget easily. So if they ever try to come back, it will probably be really hard for them. I want to know what you guys think about this, though. Did you see the fallout? Did you read the letters? Did you see the crazy apology video? And what do you think about all these allegations that are coming out about Ashton? Let me know in the comments or in the Q&A or on social media. I love hearing from you. If you have watched this to the very end, thank you so much. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you next time on No Culty Vibes. Bye.